MiniWarGamer Dave here from MiniWarGaming.com. Welcome Wargamers to another bunker vlog update. This is the studio update for the new studio, for the new location that we're going to be in next year, spring. I'll say that. That's safe. We want to be in before then, maybe late winter, early spring, but that's the goal anyway. We're working on the studios first because that's priority. We need the studios to operate as a business. So let's take a look at the Vadarak studio. These are the panels that have been completed. The reason why we do it like this is because the actual framing construction for the studios themselves has not commenced yet. So to save time, we're making these panels. These are 4x8 panels, 4 feet by 8 foot panels. I can't do the conversion in my head for centimeters, even though I live in Canada. Go figure. I think in terms of feet and inches. That's just how I was raised. So anyway, what you're looking at right now is the main panel when you walk into the Vadarak studio. The Vadarak studio being an Imperium themed studio or a Forge World themed studio. This is the main one that you look at. Those two over there, those two panels, are on either side of this one. The reason why they're switched like that is just because of moving and shifting and painting, and that's why they're all around like that. This panel is comprised of a number of different things. 2x3 frame construction, so the frame is made up of 2x3s. On top of that, there's a sheet of 1/8 MDF, 1/8 thickness. Then on top of that, there's another sheet of, actually it is 1/4" MDF. My mistake. 1/4" MDF. Then on top of that, there's 1/2" MDF strips. And then we have little additional embellishment pieces there, which are also 1/4" MDF strips. All of the bolts that you see are 3D printed. Large ones up top, medium-sized one here. These rivet heads or bolts right there, those are actually made out of MDF, and those are laser cut. Thank you very much, 6 Square Studio, for that. Same with the massive cog, that's also laser cut by the same company. Thank you guys. The skull in the middle itself, this is 3D printed, all in-house here. Thank you very much to Drewski for that. Paint job you're looking at is Vito, that's his handiwork. And a lot of the assembly and painting, not painting, the assembly and the gluing and that sort of stuff, that was done by Mike and Vito and Drewski, for these ones in particular. Drewski took a week break from 3D printing to help out with the construction of this studio, so a lot of it got done because of that. Here's a skinny panel here, all along the side. We have these massive bolts, because that's what I think of. I think of bolts and rivets and metal and steel when I think of the Imperium, and this is the representation of that. I got distracted by the singing. Over here, these are reliquaries. They keep holy relics of great import. What do you think the relics are inside? Leave a comment below. Skulls that you see are 3D printed as well. Everything else was jigsawed, except for those eagle wings. Those were laser cut by 6 Square Studio. The skulls were done in-house, 3D printed. Those light caps, cap grates, we'll call it those. Those were 3D printed as well. Just a combination of everything. Varying thicknesses of MDF. Wanted to make it stronger. Wanted to make it out of something more than just polystyrene. Polystyrene has a tendency to dent and break and chip off, and there's nothing worse than seeing a really nice looking metal wall like this and a little chunk is missing and you see a piece of pink. That's no good. Whereas this, if something dents it, it'll scratch it at worst or at best, and then you can actually work that into the aesthetic. You can actually make it look like a scratch. I'm saying that right now. Hopefully that doesn't happen because my OCD will kill me. And these here, you guys might recognize some of these pieces of terrain, very much heavily inspired by terrain pieces that I saw at Warhammer World when I visited last November. I was taking pictures for personal use, of course. And then I got inspired by those pictures, extrapolated them onto graph paper, then drew them out, made the measurements, and this is what you see before you, physicalize before your face. Those are massive metal Aquillas, kind of like cargo bay doors that open and close that keep vehicles and cargo, we'll call it that. Some of you might recognize this life-size terrain piece that's also very much inspired by some of the terrain that GW has put out. And here we have, you guys might recognize some of this writing here. Just gonna take a close-up of this. This here is vinyl, it's not paper, but it's printed to make it look like paper because from a distance, it all looks like parchment. But for practicality and strength and durability purposes, wanted to make it out of vinyl so it could last longer. The scroll end caps here are 3D printed in-house. Aquillas are laser cut, 6 Square Studio. Same with these actually. Those massive metal Aquillas, those are also 6 Square Studio. So thank you very much, Kevin and Brad, for that. Now you might be wondering what the scarabs are for this. There's scarabs all over the place and they're slowly digitizing or apparating something in there. So for those of you who have followed the MiniWarGaming campaigns and understand what Vadarak is, then you can appreciate what these scarabs are in this Imperium themed studio. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, go to the MiniWarGaming wiki and search for Vadarak, and you will see exactly, you will learn exactly what this means. So not only is the studio themed Imperium, it has a narrative meaning behind it, and there is a narrative choice for everything that you see. It's done deliberately, a lot of thought put behind it. Props to Vito for thinking of this particular idea. The original idea was to have it be Imperium themed, but he suggested, why don't we add a little narrative to this, just to spice it up. And he suggested the Vadarak studio. He got an idea from Matt, talked to him about that, and I loved it. I thought that was great. And so now you see the implementation of that, and I think it just adds that much more spice to the studio. And when you come in, especially if you're a fan of the campaigns, when you come in, when this is all done, this isn't going to be the final resting place for these panels, by the way, it's going to be downstairs. Once you see it, when you walk into the room, you'll be like, oh, okay, Vadarak, oh, scarabs, oh, yes, that makes sense. Yes, I remember seeing that campaign. That'll be the best feeling in the world if that happens. For us anyway, to witness you guys come into the studio and say that and to feel those things. That would be amazing for us. And hopefully amazing for you too. When you walk into the studio, that's the idea. That's the immersion. That's the feeling that we want. That's what that's what I would love for you guys to feel, is immersion. I want you to get fully soaked in the pool of awesome. And when you come here to battle in battle reports, heck, if you just come here to visit, participate in a tournament, you name it, doesn't matter. I want that feeling to rest within you, in your soul. I want you to feel it. I want you to be excited for it, because I'm excited for it. We're excited for it. We are grateful for you. We love you. There's a lot of excitement here right now. Just look back at the walls again. Taking a look at some of these kill coins here. These are leftovers from the Necromundus studio. I can't remember if I actually showed you anything there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly go over here and show you the remains of that. When I say remains, I mean like, you know, what the studio is. And it's kind of loud. You know what, now that I think about it, I think I showed you already. But there is something cool in here that you guys may not have seen. And that's this little guy right here. This little guy, the next studio we're working on, by the way, is the Orc Studio, or the Mech Shop, or Cruz Azul's Big Wheels. Cruz Azul's name's crossed out. Snagabog, his name crossed out. Then the next one, which is, I don't remember. The latest mech to own this shop. Not talking about this is the Necromunda studio. I'm talking about the Orc studio that we're currently working on right now. It took me a number of weeks to draft up the designs for it because there is a lot of detail in the Orc studio. Just a ton of detail. More than any other detail, any other studio that we've constructed thus far. And I wanted to get my feet wet a little bit with the construction of these studios first, just to get over the learning curve of working with the various materials and so forth, so that when we dove into the Orc studio, we could not only do cool stuff like this, because Drewski, doing the 3D printing and the design work and stuff like that, he can get over his learning curve for using the software, using the program, working with the 3D printers. This one in particular was not designed by Drewski. This was designed by another gentleman. He created the MiniWarGaming Titan. So props to you, thank you very much for that. So he actually designed 6 of these, and there's going to be, not the exact same as this, but there's going to be little snotlings all over the studio. One will be sucked into the shock attack gun, The other ones are going to be like hanging on a gantry. Another one's going to be like drilling into a bomb. Yeah, go figure, drilling into a bomb. And so all over the studio, that's the idea there. So next update, you'll see more Orc Studio details and goodness. So thank you very much. Happy wargaming. Make sure to subscribe for more updates on the MiniWarGaming Studio Bunker. Happy wargaming.